Welcome everyone, Christine here on Serious Gaming with the discussion on Troy Total War, a Total War Saga game, for which Creative Assembly has posted a new trailer, released some new screenshots, new information, announced the release date, and also announced that it is an Epic Game Store exclusive, which has angered a great deal of people for a variety of reasons. We've come full circle with Total War. I remember when Creative Assembly decided that Empire Total War was going to be a Steam exclusive and uproar over that. And now that you have an Epic Game Store exclusive with Troy Total War, there is a significant uproar. One of the things to say though, I wouldn't expect mods to be affected too much unless Epic Game Store just prevents you flat out from modding the game, which I would be surprised if that's the case. But obviously you don't have the Steam Workshop functionality in Epic Game Store, which is a benefit to Steam that something like GOG, something like Epic Game Store or Origin just don't have going for them. So if you want to play modded games, really it's Steam that's the platform of choice. You can imagine why many hardcore fans of Total War are angry about that, because many people who play Total War use mods for a variety of reasons, from the smallest fixes to complete overhauls if you can use them. So to not have that kind of functionality for Troy, to have it an exclusive, has angered a great deal of people. But let's first talk about the game and the issues with it. There are a lot of people, myself included, that weren't particularly thrilled about the idea of Creative Assembly doing a Troy game. And the reason is, Creative Assembly, in the history of Total War, has not handled siege battles well at all. Every single game, every single Total War game has had horrible siege battles, some worse than others. Obviously, the Warhammer games are the worst in the series, but overall, they aren't great. And then they make a Troy game in a Troy Total War game. You know, Troy, the Trojan War, the siege in history, one of the most important sieges in history, one of the most important stories in history, really, when we're talking about warfare and sieges in particular. They are going to make a game about that. Yeah, let's say a lot of us were skeptical. And on top of that, with the Trojan War, it's very much a story, and I wouldn't say it's a historical event, because yeah, we assume that it happened based on some evidence that we have, but we don't have anything conclusive about it. So it is really a story, the characters and all that. Well, the story is about the characters, and Creative Assembly has never really handled characters and their stories very well in their games. So, I mean, they did try with some titles, but overall, it's fallen flat on its face. So they're gonna make a Trojan War game. Let me say that many people are skeptical on that. And then, of course, they decide to do this. So Troy Total War is pretty much dead in the water for a lot of people because of all the things, because of the company's history. Though you shouldn't be surprised by this. I mean, this is a company that took factions, be it the Warriors of Chaos, be it the Yellow Turbans with Three Kingdoms. They took entire fucking factions and took them out of the game and put them as day one DLC and justify that, oh, it's like we wouldn't have made them full factions otherwise. That's just basically nickel and diming. Then the Blood DLC, which people have defended for years, or the fact that for years the fanboys of Total War have defended every fucking crappy decision that Creative Assembly has made. I remember the discussions that were taking place on Total War Center and on the Total War forums before the release of Total War Warhammer, where people were talking about, oh, they're not going to have magic, they're not going to have monsters or giant creatures or flying creatures, you know, all of the things that make Warhammer what it is, right? The Warhammer fantasy setting. A lot of the fanboys were like, basically defending the idea, even though Creative Assembly had not said anything, they were defending the idea that basically Warhammer was just going to be a reskin of their previous Total War games. Like, the Total War community is horrible. Like, fanboys that have defended every fucking horrible decision that this company has made and defended them being completely lazy and taking their money for very little effort, because that's what the Blood DLC is. Forget the age rating, it's ultimately nickel and diming consumers just because they can, and because they can get away with it. So if you're pissed off off about this, well, don't be surprised, because this is what you get when you defend a crappy company that hasn't really improved their games until Total War Warhammer, which has been a genuine improvement, but not because of the fucking fanboys, I can tell you that much. No, Total War Warhammer has been an improvement in spite of the fan base, and it still has many issues. Don't get me wrong, Total War Warhammer does have many issues, but it is a better game than the ones that existed beforehand for a good number of reasons. And then even Free Kingdoms is an improvement. I mean, if we accepted what the fanboys were saying, we would have just accepted Total War Rome 2 and Attila, which is, I don't hate Rome 2 as many other people do, but this is a series that was stagnant for so many years, and it's been stagnant, and a company has made so many horrible business decisions that has screwed us over, that has released one crappy title after one crappy title, and the only reason they got better is because they stopped giving a damn about what the fanboys were saying. They stopped giving a damn about what their ferocious keyboard warriors on the forums were saying about them. But anyway, this is what you get, though. When people defend Blood DLC, when people defend Day 1 DLC, you get Creative Assembly reaching out and taking the big pile of cash that Epic Games has put in front of them. This is precisely what's going on here. So let's read from their blog. Here it is. A Total War Saga Troy is an Epic Game Store exclusive for 12 months and will be available for free if you claim it in the first 24 hours. That's right, we're giving away Troy for free to keep as long as you claim it in the 24-hour window. We're really excited about Troy, and we're even more excited that this will give more of you the chance to play and enjoy it than might have had it otherwise. While we know that some of you won't like the Epic Game Store exclusivity, we feel like this is a great opportunity for us in a lot of ways, and we're hoping that you'll take some time to hear us out and for us to answer what some of the questions we think you might have. First of all, this is an opportunity for Troy specifically. Oh dear, this is so horrible. This entire article, I just have to stop and say, this is an opportunity. Who the hell writes this stuff? I mean, it's so cringe. Anyway, as developers, we truly value our existing fans, but at the same time, we want to reach new audiences and have as many people as possible experiencing the thrill of Total War for themselves. As a business, that means putting Total War onto new platforms so that it can reach more players. This is part of that, and in principle, we'd like future Total War titles to be simultaneously available from launch date on as many story fronts as possible. Right now, this is a one-time, one-year exclusive deal for Troy. We've always said that Saga titles allow us to experiment, and this is an experiment on a grand scale. Troy seemed like a good game to try this out, especially as pre-orders aren't live on Steam yet. So no one's already put money into a store, they'll have to wait 12 extra months for it to appear on. So now that's out of the way, here's a little more backstory. Epic approached us and asked if Troy could be an Epic exclusive as part of a commercial deal. That's not to say we immediately signed on the dotted line or that money was the only reason we did this. Clearly not. It was a difficult decision. No, it wasn't. And you can be assured that there were a lot of differing opinions in the studio and a lot of discussions about it, which largely focused on what it would mean for you, the players. However, ultimately we considered two things. First, we're at a time when we're looking to invest more into the ongoing development of Total War. This felt like an opportunity to really move the franchise forward by getting it in front of more people. Secondly, Epic were paying for our players to have our latest release free on day one. For Total War's 20th birthday, that felt like an opportunity too good to pass up. As mentioned, and like others in the industry, a key reason for exploring other digital stores is that we don't want to be limited just to Steam. We also want to diversify our business. In fact, we want to get our games onto as many stores as possible. Long term, we want to expand where players find Total War. This deal gives us a great way to try out other platforms, such as Epic, to see what works for us and what doesn't. It allows us to get the feel for the development required to expand to other platforms, and it's relatively risk-free for you. 2, as the game's available for free when claimed in the first 24 hours. This opportunity allows us allows expansive back-end infrastructure development that will allow us to expand into multiple stores. That means we can have more resources, push ourselves further, be more creative, make more Total War. And that's kind of where I have to stop. Like that's so cringe. That is absolutely a terrible blog post. Is there perhaps some point to what they're saying? Yeah, sure, I can believe that. I think Creative Assembly has been quite limited in the amount of resources they've been willing to put into developing Total War further, into experimenting, into adding new features. One of the chief complaints I have about the series is how risk adverse they are as a company, how they refuse to change the formula, how they refuse to improve the fundamentals of the game that haven't really changed in, I don't know, a decade, if not more. I mean, in some ways, the game in Rome, the original Rome in Medieval 2 is a better title, you know, when you're thinking about the campaign map. The game originally is actually a better title in quite a lot of ways. So we've even regressed in terms of the quality of the titles available. And that is a problem with the series, and further developments certainly are needed. But let's be clear. They got offered a big pile of cash, and they took that big pile of cash. And anyone who believes that anything else factored in as anywhere as much as that, they're being delusional. Beyond that, though, I have to say this. The whole thing with Epic Game Store exclusivity isn't so much of a negative, in my opinion, as some people would make it out to be. But it does present a different problem. See, here's my issue with it. Oh, so you get the game on a different store. Whatever, right? Who cares at the end of the day? Are we so fanatical about Steam that we care so much about the fact that the title is going to be on a different platform? Yeah, I mean, sure, the modding situation, that's a problem, but as far as just using the Epic Game Store in itself, that's not a problem. But here is a real issue. The fact it's free. Now, you could argue perhaps that it's a great marketing ploy, that what they're trying to do here is to get in as many people as possible into Total War. I mean, it's Troy, it's a story everyone knows, it's an interesting story that people care about, and make it for free for the first 24 hours, you're going to have a lot of players. In fact, who knows, maybe we get another situation where the Epic Game Store crashes or can't handle the influx of players like it happened with GTA when they released GTA 5 for free. So if Epic Game Store wants to take a title and put it for free, sure, fair enough, right? But here's the thing that gets me concerned. Why would Creative Assembly does it? I mean, it has to be a hell of a pile of cash to accept this many players, right? You view it as a big marketing ploy, but doesn't personally fill me with confidence about the quality of Troy and about how they feel as developers in relation to how successful their own title would be. I mean, there was a lack of hype. There was a lack of interest by a lot of people in the community because we just don't think Creative Assembly can make a game about one of the most famous sieges in history and do it justice, right? We just don't trust them from that perspective. So all of this doesn't fill me with confidence about the quality of this particular title. I didn't particularly like the previous Saga game, and many people didn't like the previous Saga game. In fact, some would call it one of the worst Total Wars that has ever been released. I think that's a bit unfair because it is a functioning game that doesn't run too badly and does have some interesting mechanics. It's just the execution of everything was piss poor. Right? It's not as horrible as some other games have been in the series, but it also wasn't good or great. So that's kind of where I stand with Troy. And looking at the trailer, was I filled with confidence just looking at the trailer, ignoring the announcement and ignoring everything like that? No, I wasn't. And when I look at the screenshots that are available, it's like they're sieging Troy. They're bringing siege towers to Troy, a city that didn't fall except for trickery. Pointing that out. Now, of course, the Trojan War is more complex than that. It's not like they just spent 10 years sieging a city. They fought, outside of Troy. There were many battles outside of Troy. In fact, some of the most famous events are field battles in the Trojan War, not the siege battle. Like the siege is, it was a thing, right? It's something that happened for long periods. There were long periods of time when the Trojans would cower behind their walls, in particular after Hector died. That did happen, but a large portion of the war was also fought outside of the walls, and it was also fought between Troy's allies and the Greeks, the Mycenaeans, if you want to be very specific on that. So we have to see how all of this is implemented, but just doesn't fill me with confidence. Nothing I've seen of this game really fills me with confidence, and maybe for some people this is the straw that broke the camel's back, but I really don't think that the fact that it's an Epic Game Store exclusive that's free. I mean, if it's a free game, right? How is that horrible? Like, you just install the client, you get the game for free. I can't really say that's a horrible thing. It might be a crap game. It doesn't fill anyone with confidence that they're doing something like this. Unless they got offered tens of millions of dollars by Epic Games. Who knows? Maybe they have that much money to spend on this. Maybe they think that's kind of important. I kind of doubt it's tens of millions, maybe some millions of dollars, of course, and it's a 24-hour window. But still, it doesn't exactly fill people with confidence. And final note, I've also heard murmurings, and this could be true, this might not be true, depends on how it plays out, but I've heard murmurings that they're already working on a day one DLC. Because of course they are. Because it's Creative Assembly. Because of course they'd fucking do that. What it would be? Amazon's apparently, from what I've heard. I don't know how much stock I'd put in those rumors, but would I be surprised? No. Costin here on Serious Gaming signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.